back to easy concept.
Now seeing the slope diffraction equation at B of member BC. So MBC they are asking slope diffraction equation as shown in the figure. EI is constant. See, in this question they did not given the member BC member length. So anyhow, as per this value given, so you have to consider this also 4. But anyhow, this is the mistake for the question setters. Okay, but you have to consider this is the 4. Now here there was a slope. Okay, you know the rotation. Here there was a rotation. Here there is a rotation. Therefore, theta b and theta c will be present. Now you can use the elimination technique. Here there is no theta c. You can just ignore. Here there is no theta c. You can just ignore. Out of these two, which one is the answer? So you know both you don't want to calculate fixed end moment also. Here both are 40. Therefore, the fixed end moment is 40. Fixed end moment of BC plus the first one is 4ei by L 4a by L into theta b plus 2ei by L into theta c. So if you simplify this, this is a minus 40, this is plus ei into theta b plus 0.5 ei into theta c. So if you simplify this, then minus 40 e into theta b plus 0.5 e into theta c. So this is the answer. You got it. So this also not correct. Okay. Now next question is a very interesting question. The distribution factor for member AE and AC. Therefore, this is the junction point. You have to calculate the distribution factor. Distribution factor table you have to make. You have to make distribution factor table. Okay. So distribution factor table is this one. Okay. So we can do this. We can do this. First of all, this joint A, joint A, joint A. Then there was a member. Then stiffness of each member. Then the total stiffness. Total stiffness. Then the distribution factor. Distribution factor. Okay. So the member is equal to, I can write this is AC, this is AE. So this is the member AC and AE, and the stiffness of member AC is equal to, we can write this is the rigid joint. Therefore, AC is equal to 4E, I is equal to 2I by 4A by L, 5. So that is equal to now 8A by L, right? So this is equal to now 8A by L, which is equal to 8EI by 5. And similarly, for AE, A is equal to 4EI by L. L is equal to 2.5. Here I is equal to I, and this is a rigid end. Therefore, this is the value. So the total stiffness at the joint E is 8EI by 5 plus 4EI by 2.5. So if you simplify this, then you will get the total stiffness. What is the distribution factor? So if you simplify this, 8 divided by 5 plus 4 divided by 2.5. So it's equal to 3.2 EA. 3.2 EA. So now 8 EI divided by 5 into 3.2 EA. So this is the distribution factor for first one. So answer for this is, we can take it as 0.5 you are getting. Similarly 4 divided by 2.5. Okay, so this also 0.5. So answer for this question is this A. Okay, A is the answer, 0.5 is your answer. I hope you understood. Now we can move further. So which one of the following statement in terms of composition of cement are incorrect? Incorrect. See, so trisilicate and disilicate together constitute 70 to 80 percentage of cement. This is the correct statement. This is approximately around 45 percentage will be present. This was approximately is around 25 percentage will be present. Then C2S hydrates slowly. Yes, the C2S is responsible for later strength. Later strength. It is responsible for later strength. So C2S hydrates slowly and provides much of the ultimate strength. Yes, it's the latest strength is ultimate strength. This is also correct. C2S having faster rate of reaction. Yes, C2S is the fast rate of reaction, and also it is producing higher rate of heat. Is accompanied by great heat evolution. Yes, correct. C3S provides more resistance to chemical attack. No, it is a less resistance to chemical attack. The answer D is incorrect. Next one is a rectangular beam has B is equal to this, D is equal to AST, three numbers of 20 mm diameter, FCK, FE 415. The limit moment carrying capacity of the beam. The MU limiter for FE 415 steel, MU limited, which is equal to 0.138 FCK BD square. Okay, so this is the thing. 0.138 FCK is 20 into B is 250 into D square is D is 500 square. So if you simplify this, if you multiply and do the all process, and finally you will get the answer is approximately 1.725 into 10 raised to 8 Newton millimeter. Okay, so here there is no option is Goldschmidt, but is the nearest option is this 1.433 into 10 raised to 8 Newton millimeter. So the answer for this question is C. Okay, next one. For a continuous slab of 3 meter by 3.5 meter in size, the minimum overall depth of slab to satisfy the vertical deflection. We know that the span by overall depth, this is a D, which is equal to 40 for continuous beam. Continuous, so not a beam, continuous slab, which is equal to 25 for 35, not 25, which is equal to 35 for simply supported slab. Okay, so here they given is a continuous slab. Therefore, span by overall depth is equal to 40. So span is equal to, you have to take the minimum of these two, since the shorter direction only the maximum betterment will be happen. Therefore, you have to take is a 3000 divided by what is a depth. The depth that we are having is we need to calculate, which is equal to D. We cancel out these two. So the depth you are getting is equal to 4. Now this is 775. So the answer for this question is 75 mm. Okay. So answer for this question is 75 mm. Answer is B. Okay. And the next question for this, the soil test results indicates a liquid limit, plastic limit, percentage of passing through 75 microns is 80 percentage. See, the percentage of soil passing 80 percentage, then we can conclude this analysis. Okay, this is not a first of all a clay soil, so this is the general classification. Okay, this is the line in that this is a bifurcation point. If more than 50 percentage of particle passes, more than 50 percentage of particle passes in the 75 micron sieve, then we can say this is a fine grain soil. Fine soil. more than 50% of particles retained on 75 micron sieve, then we can say coarse grain soil. Here more than 50% of particles are processed. So this is 80%. Therefore, this is the fine grain soil. Therefore, the coarse grain soil is further divided into sand, gravel, boulder, then cobble. So just you can ignore from the option. This is the sandy, poorly graded sand. Therefore, this B is not correct. Here also the sand symbol is there. Therefore, this also not correct. You can just ignore B and D simply. Now you are having A and C. Okay. And the next step is after finishing this, you have to classify the fine grain soil. You have to use the plasticity chart. The plasticity chart will be used when the percentage of fineness means passes 75 micron seal. Passes 75 micron seal. Okay, when percentage of fineness, that is passes 75 micron sieve, is greater than 12 percentage, then we use plasticity chart. We use plasticity chart to classify the soil. Okay, so you know the plasticity chart. So this is the plasticity chart. So the plasticity chart is something like that. So this plasticity chart is bifurcated by liquid limit. So it's something like that. So this is 35 and this is 50. So above this line is A line. This is A line. Okay. And the A line plasticity index is equal to 0.73 in the liquid limit minus, actually this is 20. Liquid limit minus 20. Okay. So this is 35, this is 50. So now what we can do, so this is 35. So less than 35, then so above this A line clay soil, low compressible. It is in between this, then it is a clay soil, intermediate compressibility. Greater than liquid limit is 50, then high compressibility. Okay, and here is a silty soil, that is low compressible. Silty soil, that is silt is M, represented by M, and this is intermediate silty soil. This is highly compressible silty soil. Now this option also not correct. Why not correct? Our liquid limit is only 34%. That means somewhere here less than this only, less than this. Okay. Therefore, the CH won't come. CH is the high compressible clay when the liquid limit is greater than 50. But here the liquid limit is only 34. So based on that, you can conclude that option C is correct. That is low compressible and intermediate compressible. So this is 34 means, but anyhow somewhere here, right? So in this, the region is this is the borderline, therefore it is low compressible, intermediate compressible clay soil. Option C is correct. Now, the particle size corresponding to 10% fine drop sand is 0.3 mm. Then estimate the coefficient of permeability. There was an empirical formula, coefficient of permeability. This is equal to C into D10 square. What is a C? So C is equal to, we can take as 100, and D10 you have to substitute in terms of meter. There will 0.03, sorry, not meter, centimeter, the whole square. While substituting this as centimeter, you will get answer in terms of centimeter per second. So this answer you will get 9 into 10 raised to minus 4 into 100, so that you will get 0.09 centimeter per second. So answer for this question is B. Okay, so K is equal to this one. So this is the answer. Next question. A masonry dam has pervious sand as foundation. Determine the maximum permissible upward gradient if the factor safety is 3. is required against boiling. For sand, N is equal to 45% and G is equal to 2.65. So they are asking what is a factor of safety. That is a critical hydraulic gradient IC divided by I. So IC, which is equal to, we know that, factor safety is this. Okay. Now this implies I actual gradient is equal to IC divided by factor of safety. What is IC? IC is equal to, they given porosity, then IC is equal to G minus 1 into 1 minus N divided by factor safety 3. So what is a G? G is equal to 2.65 minus 1, 1 minus 0.45, 0.45 the whole divided by 3. So the answer for this is, now if you simplify, 1.65 into 0.55 the whole divided by 3, so that your answer is equal to, okay, I is equal to, you will get, if you simplify this, then your answer is 0.3. So answer for this question is B. Okay. Next one is, a clay soil tested in a consolidometer showed a degrees in void ratio from 1.2 to 1.19. Okay. Up 1.2 to void ratio change from 1.2 to 1.10. After the application of pressure 0.25 to 0.5 kilogram force by centimeter square. If the sample tested at the size was taken from the clay layer 3 meter in thickness, then the consolidation settlement is. So we know that the consolidation settlement delta H by H is equal to delta E divided by 1 plus E naught. So delta H, which is equal to, what is a delta E? 1.2 minus 1.1 divided by 1 plus 1.2. So this answer is 0.1 divided by 2.2 into, what is the height? So height of the soil sample is 3 meters. So this is the delta H. So now delta H is equal to 0.3 divided by 2.2. 0.3 divided by 2.2. So you can write this is approximately 3 divided by 22. So which is equal to, you can write approximately 1 by 7. 1 by 7 0.33. So 1 by 7.33. So delta H is equal to, we can write 1 by 7.33, which is equal to 0.136. 0.136 meter. So answer for this question is this. Yeah. Okay. Next one is, an excavation is to be made up to a depth of 6 meter in cohesive soil having an unit weight of 20 kilonewton per meter cube. What is the required cohesive strength of clay to keep the sides of earth remains vertical without any support? Okay. An excavation is to be made up to a 6 meter cohesive soil. Excavation was made, therefore the critical height is equal to, for a clay soil, this is the formula, without, remains without any support. Without any support, the excavation, if it is made on a cohesive soil, then the critical height of excavation is equal to 4c divided by gamma. So they given this is H, they are asking what is the cohesive strength. HC is equal to 6 into 20 divided by 4, which is equal to C. So if we simplify this, then 5, okay, answer is 30, which is equal to C. So answer for this question is C, 30 kilonewton per meter square. According to ISI recommendations, the maximum depth of stress block for a balanced section of a effective depth D. Okay, maximum depth of stress block for a balanced section. So it is 0.55. So maximum depth of stress block for a balanced section of a effective depth D is 0.55 D. Okay, but in IS 456 2000, IS 456 2000, this is for 250 steel, FE 250 steel, FE 415 steel, FE 500 steel. So this is Fe 250 steel, 415 steel, 500 steel. This is 0.53D, 0.48D, 0.46D. So this is the thing. Okay. So answer for this question is this. Now, for a property cantilever of span L with a constant plastic moment capacity MB carries a concentrated load at the midspan, then the load at the collapse load will be. So before that, let me give some of the formula so that for a simply supported beam which is subjected to central point load W, then you know the collapse load which is equal to 4mp by L. At the same time, propped cantilever which is subjected to center point load, then the collapse load which is equal to 6 mp by L. 6 mp by 6 mp divided by L. The next one is a fixed beam subjected to point load at its center. Then you know the collapse load is equal to 8 mb by L. So these three. The next one is a simply supported beam. A simply supported beam subjected to UTL acting throughout the span. Then the collapse load is equal to 8 mb by L square. A propped cantilever beam subjected to UTL acting throughout the span. Collapse load is equal to 11.656 mp by L square. Then the fixed beam which is subjected to UTL acting throughout the span. Then the collapse load which is equal to 811. So this is 16 mp by L square. Then you know simply supported beam subjected to eccentrical load. Then the collapse load which is equal to MPL divided by AB. At the same time, fixed beam subjected to eccentric load. This is A, this is B. This is A, this is B. Then the collapse load which is equal to 2MPL divided by AB. Okay. So these are the some of the formulas that you have to keep in your mind. Important. So therefore, this answer for this question is property cantilever with this concentrated load at a midpoint. Then the collapse load. This is the answer. Therefore, 6 mb by L. Okay. So next question is, so determine the economical depth of a welded plate girder of span 24 meter to carry a superimposed load of so on and so forth. Avoid the stiffness and use Fe415 steel. So in the last 2012 question, we having seen the economical depth of the plate girder. Okay, so that is M moment K divided by yield stress Fy the whole power 1 by 3. Okay, now the K is equal to 67 into strain of web. Okay, this strain of web we can write is equal to 250 divided by yield stress in web. So that is a yield stress in web. So yield stress in web also, this is the steel, therefore this is equal to 250 divided by 250. So answer for this is 1. Okay, now you got it, strain in web. Now everything is fine, therefore depth is equal to, and you need to calculate moment also. Moment is equal to, so this is the simply supported plate girder generally made up of simply supported. If not mention anything about that, then simply take this formula. W is equal to they given 35. Okay, into what is the span 24 square divided by 8. So you will get in terms of kilonewton meter, right? So kilonewton meter you will get, but you have to convert in terms of Newton millimeter after that. So this is the answer. 2 2520 kilonewton meter. So this 252 into 10 raised to 7 Newton millimeter you have to convert it. So your moment is over. And K is equal to what? Now K is equal to 67. So you have to substitute D is equal to 252 into 10 raised to 7. K is equal to 67 divided by Fy is 250. The whole power 1 by 3. So this is the answer. Okay. This is the answer. Now 252 into 67 into 7 divided by 250 power 1 divided by 3. So this depth is equal to approximately you are getting 877.36. Okay, so this is the answer. But here the problem is to calculating this cube root. So you have to take care. Okay, so here the option is 87. Option is A. You have to just take it as higher value. Don't take the lesser value. So the best higher value is this A. Okay, so this is the answer. The next question is a tension member consists of two angles 60 by 60 by 8. The angle being placed back to back on the same side of the gusset plate. One leg of each angle is connected to the gusset plate. So the outstanding legs are also connected by tack rivet. Okay, find the safe tension for the member. Use 16 mm diameter rivet. See, there was a gusset plate. In that gusset plate, there was a gusset plate. In that gusset plate, two angle made. Okay, this is the angle, and these two are connected back to back. One leg of each angle is connected to the gusset plate. This leg is connected to the gusset plate. This is connected to the gusset plate. Okay, the outstanding leg are connected to the tack rivet. So this is the outstanding leg. This is the outstanding leg. This is connected by tack rivet. Okay, tack rivet. Find the safe tension for the member. They are asking what is a safe tension. Safe tension for the member. They are asking use 16 mm diameter rivet. 16 mm diameter rivet. D is equal to 16 mm. Therefore, diameter of hole is equal to 16 plus 1.5. You have to take 17.5 mm. This is the diameter of the hole. Okay. So if it is two angles are connected with the gusset plate back to back, then you know the A net is calculated like that. Okay. So we know that before that the tensile force carrying capacity is equal to A net into sigma AT. So A net is equal to A1 plus K A2 into sigma, this is 0.6 into Fy. So this is now A1, which is equal to, we can calculate A1 is equal to actually net sectional area of connected leg. Then A2, which is equal to gross area of outstanding leg. Gross area of outstanding leg. So A1, A2. Okay, now what is the A1? A1, which is calculated by A1 is equal to this one, 60 into 60 into thickness is 8, right? Therefore this size is equal to, we can write A1 is equal to 60 plus 60 minus 2 bolts are there, 17.5 minus 17.5. So this is 160, this is another leg 60. Two, you have to subtract these two rivet core. Therefore, you will get a A1. Okay. So into, this is the width, into what is the thickness. So thickness of this member is equal to 8. So after simplifying this, you will get 680 millimeter square. What is a A2? A2 is equal to, you are getting A2 is equal to this outstanding leg, right? In that outstanding leg, already this 8 is we have taken here. Then what is the remaining? Remaining length is only 52. Therefore, 52, okay, this length is 52 into thickness is 8 into 2 legs are there, 1, 2. Therefore, the answer for this is 832 millimeter square. Okay, here we are not taking into account the tack bolt hole, because the tack bolt hole we are not taking into account. As the tack bolt is rivet is not considered for taking the load. So we are just tacking this outstanding leg in order to keep these two legs as it is. Okay, so that's why. Okay, just holding this two leg, we are using the tack rivet, not more than that. So now A1, A2, everything is okay. Now A net we are getting, which is equal to, A net we are getting is equal to A1 plus K into A2. Okay, so or we can yeah, okay, before that we have to calculate K2 also. Now K2 which is equal to, K2 which is equal to 5A1 plus 5A1 plus A2. So this is the formula. Then if we simplify this, substitute 5 into, what is A1? 680. 5 into 680 plus A2 is 832. 832. So your answer is now, your answer is K2, which is equal to, approximately you will get 0.803. Now A net is equal to, we will get A net is equal to, what is a A1? A1 is equal to 680 plus A2 is equal to 0.803 into 8 is 832. Okay, so this is the answer. If you simplify this, 1348.096 millimeter square, that is a unit. Therefore PT, which is equal to this is 1348.096 into 0.6 into 215. So if you simplify this, 202.2 kilonewton. So this problem, so approximately your answer is this one. So this is the answer. See, this is a very big problem, but such kind of question shouldn't ask the question setter, but we don't know why they are asking such kind of question. So this question takes more time, but anyhow we have to solve. So this is the answer. So next question is, the sliding end of your rope turn rest on brick wall through a concrete pad. The maximum normal reaction on the bearing is 125 kilonewton. The principal rafter is 30 degree. The principal rafter is 30 degree with the to the main tie. So there was a rafter in the roof truss. This we are called as a rafter. And this is rest over here. Okay, we can call it this the rafter. Okay, and there was a tie. The tie is a tension member. With the tie, it is makes a 30 degree. What will be the factored force in the principal rafter? They are asking what is a factored force. So we can take, this is the horizontal force, this is the inclined force here. Okay, and the sliding end of your roof turn rest on a brick wall, so through a concrete pad, and maximum normal reaction. So that means this will be, this root truss is resting over a, this is the root truss, okay, this is the rafter, this is the tie which is resting over a concrete pad. So this concrete pad give a force of 125 kilonewton. So this is give 125 kilonewton. Okay, so actually this is the tie. What will be the factored force in the principal rafter? So at the principal rafter, what is the force they are asking? For that, do one thing, you have to use sigma v is equal to 0. This is a concurrent system of forces. Therefore, we can write F sine 30 degree. This is F, right? Force. Force F sine 30 degree plus 125. Both are in the same direction. Therefore, F is equal to 125 divided by sine 30. Sine 30 is equal to 1 by 2, right? Therefore, this is 250 minus this one. This also minus. This is F. 250. So, this is F is equal to minus 250 kilonewton. So, the answer for this question is 250. Okay. Therefore, this is the 250 kilonewton. Okay. And your answer is, actually here is a compression, because this assumption is wrong. You get a 250. Therefore, F is equal to, we can write 250 compression. Okay, so this is the answer.